for our second KOWIN Atlanta Leadership Conference. It's a great privilege to welcome you here this afternoon. My name is Eun Shim, and I'm the president of KOWIN Atlanta. For those of you who are not familiar with what KOWIN is, it stands for the Korean Women's International Network. It was formed through the encouragement and facilitation by the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family of the Republic of Korea, which recognized the need to strengthen solidarity among Korean women globally. The goal is so that these Korean women from different regions of the world could develop and better utilize their resources for greater causes in this age of globalization. Currently, there are over 130 chapters in more than 30 countries, actively participating in different activities to promote networking, advocating for each other, and mentoring younger generations. KOWIN Atlanta was established in 2011 as one of the chapters of KOWIN's U.S. Eastern region, along with New York, Washington, D.C., Dallas, and Chicago. KOWIN Atlanta focused on providing leadership seminars, educating on environmental issues, and promoting women's health matters. KOWIN Atlanta membership base consists of professionals in various fields. We plan on hosting annual leadership seminars so that these role models can share their experience with and mentor the next generations of Korean American women professionals. For today's seminar, I proudly introduce 4 amazing young professionals who will share their lessons learned and experiences for their career path to date. We hope their stories are interesting to you and provide some food for thought for your career journey. Last but not least, I would like to express my deepest and sincere appreciation to the facilitators and speakers and to the Korean American Association of Greater Atlanta for providing the lovely venue. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. 안녕하세요. 예, 오늘 이 자리에 모여주셔서 정말 감사드리고요. I don't know, 영어로 해야 되나요? 한국말로 해야 되나요? 영어로 해야 되나요? 영어가 있으시죠? So I'm very excited about today because we have 4 wonderful panelists who are representing diverse fields in different career paths, and they have been very successful in their field. So I'd like to introduce each one of them, but the format of today's panel would be that each panelist will have about 10 to 15 minutes to talk about how they decide to move into their career path and what their experiences have been, and they can talk about their experiences with their own field. And in order to hear from each panelist, we'll actually hear from each panelist first and save and question and answer toward the end. So after every panelist talks about their experiences in their career path, we'll have time for question and answer. So our first panelist, Ms. Hae Ban, has been a social worker for almost 20 years in New York City and Atlanta area. She worked for welfare to work programs at Consortium for Worker Education and for community outreach and cancer prevention programs at American Cancer Society in New York City. She also established Korean American Special Education Resource Center, serving as its board member, which provided education and advocacy training for parents with special needs children. Since she moved to Georgia with her family in 2006, she has been involved in developing end-of-life care programs for Korean American population in Metro Atlanta area. With her extensive tax experience of program development and outreach at various social service agency settings, she has been able to take an active role in community education and outreach in different social services programs in the area. Ms. Ban holds a BA in Politics and Diplomacy from Ewha Women's University and MA in International Relations from Yonsei University in Korea. She also graduated from MSW program with a concentration in community organizing at Silverman School of Social Work of Hunter College, City University of New York. Please please join me to welcome Ms. Haejun Ban.
Hello everyone, how is everybody doing today? It's a bit really rapid speed, isn't it? Like we didn't have time to kind of take a breath for a while. But yes, my name is Haejun Ban and I'm a social worker. Okay, so have you ever met a social worker before? Anybody? Nobody ever met a social worker before? Okay, every year, the March is the month of National Social Workers, which means that that's the time to remember what the social workers do and kind of highlight and appreciate what they do. A couple of years ago, I got a badge. Can everybody see this? It says, "Listen, honey." The title is social worker, not a miracle worker. Because my experience or anybody, I love this badge because when people see or meet a social worker, they kind of expect them to be a fairy godmother who has the magic wand, just like swinging it, and their problems will be all solved, which is not true in the real life. So that's why I like this badge. You see that little magic wand band for the fairy godmother. Today I was invited to talk about why I became a social worker and what have been doing so far and what will be my future role. So I thank you for the KOWIN to invite me to speak today. So next one. Okay, so if the social workers are not the fairy godmothers with a magic wand, what are they? For decades, if you can see the little picture there, many social workers kind of regarded like those scary social workers from government who will knock down the door and take the child from their parents, usually called the foster care. So everybody kind of imagined the social worker being this really scary, mean, middle-aged woman just knocking the doors and taking the children from you guys, from the parents, and putting to different families. That was the main idea of social workers for many years. And but mainly for me, being a social worker is just holding somebody's hand in the time of need. It's kind of like very difficult for me to talk about social worker because there are so many social workers actually here with me at this moment. But I guess I was picked to speak today because I was in the field, in different field, doing different stuff for the last 20 years. Here, I have a picture of nursing home social worker and a social worker, and I put these pictures to try to give you some ideas what the social workers do. But the main idea is social workers, they work to make a difference. It could be a little tiny difference in somebody's life. It can be a little bit bigger difference in a community, or in an organization, in different society. So social workers, our main goal is to make a difference, whether it's a big or small in anybody's life. Let me tell you about me. My childhood dream was far away from being a social worker. When I was young, for some reason, I saw this really nice, good-looking journalist in the cartoon. So I want to become a journalist. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to go around the battlefield, interview scary terrorists. So that's why I majored political science and diplomacy in my college, because back then, a couple of decades ago, they didn't really have a degree in communications. So most famous journalists back then went to school and had a degree in political science and become journalists. So I studied I studied politics and diplomacy in college. Then I went to have a degree in international relations because I thought that would be my path to become a journalist. However, I came to the United States to study international relations, but I met this guy, got married, and started a family, and I just realized being a wife and a mother was kind of pull me back from being a journalist, because to be a journalist, you really have to be diligent. You have to be work 90, 100 hours per week. You have to be out there and out, so travel so much. So I guess, okay, maybe I'm not cut to be a journalist. And then I was considering, okay, so I'm here, what am I going to do? I was looking for different professions, and I felt maybe I'll become because I live in New York City. I was like, maybe I'll get a like MBA and get a job at Wall Street. You know, I can be one of those really high top finance analysts or something. But then I realized I'm not really good with numbers, so I didn't go for that. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll keep studying international relations and become a professor and teach in school. But then I realized I'm not really good at reading so many books and writing so many essays and theses. Okay, so that's not for me. And one day my mother-in-law actually said, like, why don't you become a social worker? And I was like, social worker? What do social workers do? Because I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with what social workers do, but back then, even in Korea or the United States, not many people knew what a social worker is. They just thought that, oh, they're nice people. They're just like good people helping others before they're underpaid. So I was like, okay, I'm not a nice person. I'm not a really good person. I'm not here to help others. I'm not good at helping people. But then my mother-in-law said, like, but you're a people person. You like to meet new people. I said, yes. You like to talk to strangers? I do. And she said, like, and I was like, oh, okay. So I looked into it, and I realized that, oh my God, you know what? It might be because I have no problem talking to strangers, and I love to tell people what to do. So I was like, okay, this might work. And that's why I went to social work school in New York City, and I've been loving it so far. I mean, it's a great job for me. So that's how I become social worker, by just a suggestion from my mother-in-law. So, when you are slightly interested about becoming social worker, it's like, I guess the first thing that you have to decide is what kind of population that you want to work with. You see, being a social worker is, like I said, working with people. Like the other word, serving people in need, but you have to pick the population. What age group do you like to work with? What category of people? I mean, I don't really like to categorize people, but what kind of people that in need that you want to serve with? For me, it was seniors. I love working with seniors. I started off working with senior center, and I still do love working with seniors. So I just feel very comfortable talking with older people than younger people. If you tell me to work with teenagers, I'll be out of the door like in 1 second. I really cannot stand teenagers. It was far before I had my own teenagers. It was like, I don't know why, but from the very young age, I just knew that I was not going to work with teenagers. Some of my colleagues, they just wanted to work with middle schoolers because they love the changes in them, so they love to do that. But for me, it was seniors. Years ago, when I was working at the senior center, I was covering like 4 senior centers, and there's one particular senior center where they had a lot of new immigrants from Russia. So my supervisor was, like, we were doing like housing program. Basically, we were introducing benefits, housing benefits and other social service benefits to these new immigrants from Russia. And I had no problem with working with them. I really enjoyed working with them. But my supervisor was like, hey, I don't understand how you can even stand them and talk to them for 5 minutes. Because it is very interesting. Russian immigrants are very vocal. They're very loud. And they want everything like, hurry up. Like, they want the result right there. They want everything like move very fast. Which reminds me of Korean seniors. So I told my supervisor, you know what? Like, if I could have worked with my grandmother, I have no problem with doing any seniors. That was the confidence that I got, because my grandmother was a very typical Korean grandmother. Want everything like pali. Now. So, like 5 minutes right there. Okay, so you have to pick the population that you want to work with. If you are interested in behavior health, you can become a counselor and work with people with mental illness, addiction problems. Or if you want to work with children, when you say work with children, you're not only working with children, but you're working with families, because only healthy children come from healthy families. So you provide all these resources to make the child's life better, which will make the family life better. So that's another thing. If you are interested in health, I've been a medical social worker for the last 10 years, which means that I work with doctors, nurses, pharmacists. As a team member, nowadays, when you have a cancer, when you are in different diseases, they all have like this holistic approach, which means that a team works. For example, doctor sits down with a patient and diagnose a disease. Nurse might give a shot or explain about the drug that you have, that the patient has to take. But the social worker is there to ask the question, how are you doing today? How are you feeling today? Not your pain, but how are you really feeling today? So, and we try to, from that emotional aspect to the very practical, okay, you are going home tomorrow. If you go home tomorrow, is there somebody to take care of you? If you had a stroke and you're not going to be mobile as you used to be, the social worker will be there to help you. Say like, do you have a hospital bed at home? Do you have a wheelchair that you need? So from very emotional to very practical aspect, the social worker will be there to provide the service in healthcare setting. School social worker. School social workers are not only for the students. They are there to assist the teachers to provide better education. They are to bridge between the teachers and the parents, and also for the students, basically to meet their academic goals in their school. Okay, and once you decide which population, which people in need that you want to serve, then you have to decide which approach you're going to take. Mainly, okay, before I go on, all these things, I didn't come up with this, I didn't make up this, these are all from like National Association of Social Work. I think I put the website on the previous slide. They explain if you have more questions, you can get more detailed information there. So basically, the ways to serve people, we categorize in 4 different ways. Casework, group work, community organizing, and administration. Casework is like what you typically see, one-on-one, one social worker to the family, basic like counseling, trying to do a case management. We say case management because everybody comes to see social worker with a problem. And we are there to assist them, not to solve everything, but connect to them the right resources and empower them to solve the problem on their own, but we are there to assist them. Group work is more like getting a group of people in the same situation. Like I used to work for American Cancer Society where I used to have groups with the cancer patients or their families. So it's amazing how you can get a group of people in the same situation and they start talking. So you get like help from each other, they can help each other, and also you can really, sometimes it's easier for them to open up about their problems. And also teenagers where they might have like anger management issues, and you get a group of, which I will never do, but 7, 8 teenagers in the same room and they start talking and venting with each other. And social worker is there just to facilitate them and make them talk to each other and provide answers with each other. Community organizing is what I measure, and that's more like doing a need assessment in a community, come up with a program, setting it up in an agency or in a community, and literally running the program. Most of the community organizing is like education, community education. I used to work for American Cancer Society where I would go to Korean community and educate them about breast cancer, prostate cancer, all different diseases and how to prevent them. That was community organizing. And this, like a setting like this, talking to people, group of people about social work or any other topics will be community organizing. Try to give them the information and resources that the community needs. And administration, I used to be the administrator at the Misan Hospice, which was a hospice organization where I started a program and implement that in the community setting so you can actually run the agency. So from very one-on-one to group to the community and to the whole organization, there's a huge spectrum of social work. I'm getting to all this like 5 minutes, more like 10 minutes. Okay, so for any more questions, we will have a Q&A time and we'll probably have one-on-one question time after the break. Thank you.
Grace Lee. Grace Lee is a high school mathematics teacher at Riverside High School in Clayton County. She just completed her first 2 years of teaching through Teach for America, a prestigious AmeriCorps program that places teachers in low-income communities. In addition to teaching, Grace serves as the school's head soccer coach, yes, that's the one, and a member of the school leadership committee. Outside of school, Grace volunteers her time as the Executive Director of Collaboration Atlanta, a non-profit organization dedicated to promoting an accurate and positive portrayal of Asian Americans in the entertainment industry. Please welcome Ms. Judy Lee.
Oh, Grace.
Grace Lee.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Lee. I'm a high school math teacher at Riverdale High School in Clayton County. So for those of you who aren't familiar, because I had no idea where Clayton County was before I started teaching, you know where the airport is. So like, no one goes south past the airport, you go south past the airport. That's where my school is. So before I get into like how I got into my job and why I love it so much, I just wanted to go ahead and share a little bit about myself first. So I was actually born in Korea, and when I was around 4 years old, my parents decided to move to the US. And so we moved to a couple different cities, but we ended up in Alpharetta, Georgia, near Johns Creek, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with. And I went to high school there. And then for college, I decided to go to Boston College, which is up in Massachusetts, where I majored in international studies, with a focus in ethics and global social justice. So, you know, I was every Korean parent's nightmare. I had no idea what I wanted to do, no idea where I wanted to go to college, no idea what I wanted to major in. So all of high school, and actually the majority of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. There were two things that I was very interested in. Like Ms. Vaughn said, I was very interested in traveling, and then I also wanted to help people. And so I knew those two things, but I didn't know kind of where they merged or what kind of job that would take me into. But those are just some things I had in the back of my mind. And I think that stems from a lot of volunteer work that I did during high school. I was Georgia's state vice president for the National Beta Club, and so through that I got a lot of volunteer community service experiences. And one of my most meaningful and memorable experiences were I got to tutor refugee children living in Clarkston my junior and senior year of high school. So every Saturday morning I went to my partner family who had children. They had recently come to the US because of their refugee status. I was helping them with their schoolwork and making sure that they got their homework assignments complete. So that was something that was really impactful for me. Another really impactful moment is through my church. The summer after my junior year, I got the opportunity to go to Cambodia, volunteer at an orphanage, and this is kind of where I got my interest in traveling was sparked. And so that's kind of why I had in the back of my mind that like one day I wanted to work in the UN or just be in a third world country where I could serve the communities there. And so, you know, I stumbled into teaching by complete luck. It was it was my junior year in college. And so I had just been on a 6-month study abroad program in Madrid, Spain, and I had come back second semester. And just judging from like what I've been telling you, I love to be involved in things. And so in college, I was heavily involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. But having studied abroad in Spain for first semester, when I came back second semester, it was hard for me to get back into the organizations and clubs that I was in. So Boston College, a lot of the organizations that they have is a full year commitment. So, you know, coming back from Spain second semester, I found a lot of empty time in my schedule. And so, you know, trying to figure out what to do with that time. And one day I opened my email, and on the title I saw it said selected to meet with Teach for America representative. I was just like, first of all, so flattered, you know, college students selected, you know, really good marketing on their end. So I was like definitely curious about what they wanted, what they were interested in, and then also, obviously, I was trying to, you know, find something to do. And so, without really knowing it, I ended up scheduling an appointment with a TFA recruiter, so they tricked me into teaching. So I go over there, and I bring my resume, and we're kind of looking through all the things that I've done, like the things I've shared with you. She said, you know, I really think that teaching might be a profession that you want to look into. And, you know, again, this recruiter is so good at her job. Never thought about teaching before. My mom was actually a teacher in Korea, but Korean parents in the US, doctor, lawyer, you know, teachers don't make money, all that stuff. And so, never actually thought about being a teacher. But she told me a little bit about Teach for America. It's a nonprofit AmeriCorps organization nationwide, and it places young, recent grads mostly into these low-income communities for a 2-year program. And so they take usually non-certified, so non-education major teachers, and they train them in the summer, and then they throw you into a classroom in a low-income community. And you know, all this stuff really sounded appealing to me, but I was like, no. I want to travel. I want to make sure that I am, you know, in helping a third world country, impoverished community there overseas. And then what she said to me like really struck me. She was like, I really appreciate your ambitions. Like, these are great ideas, but we have so many issues right here in our community that need work as well. Like, I had never really thought about it with working with refugees, working in Cambodia. I just had this like glorified idea of what community service looked like. And so I thought about it, and it made a lot of sense, and it really struck home. And so that's why my junior year of college, I was like, all right, I'm going to apply for Teach for America. So I heard back at the end of my junior year, and I was the lucky few that had a job going into senior year of college, And then so senior, I was like thinking about it, and then I decided I'm going to commit, so I signed my contract. But even after accepting my Teach for America position, I wasn't completely sold that teaching was like the right fit for me, or like the career path that I really wanted to go on. And it wasn't until my summer training program, the summer before I started teaching in 2014, that I was able to kind of see that I'm part of this big movement, and I just stepped into something huge without even knowing it. And so they had gathered all the math teachers, the incoming math teachers, in this room, not this room, in a room, and on the wall there were all these posters taped up. And I was like, what are we doing? And the facilitator explained to us that we're doing something called a gallery walk. So what a gallery walk is that you like circulate the room, and then you read the flyers or the posters that are on the wall, and you just kind of take in for yourself and reflect on what they say. So he's like, you have 10 minutes of silence, please go around, look at these posters, and then we'll discuss afterwards. And it was in those 10 minutes that I was just sold. And I do want to go ahead and read to you guys some of what the flyers had said. And I should have had a PowerPoint like Ms. Vaughn, but all right. Yeah, and so these were some of the facts that just really shaped me, or shaped my vision in being a teacher, and was like, wow, this is a big movement, and I want to be a part of this. And so just a couple of facts here. Number 1, every 11 seconds, a student drops out of school. Number 2, 70% of students who fail Algebra 1 will not graduate from high school. This makes performance in math one of the largest factors contributing to high school dropout rates. Number 3, according to the U.S. Department of Education, only 29% of high schools with high minority student populations offer calculus, compared to 55% of schools with low minority populations. 4, higher math performance at the end of high school translates into a 12% increase in future earnings. 5, African Americans and Latinos comprise over a quarter of the U.S. population, but make up less than 10% of all Americans with STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, jobs. Asian Americans only make up 5% of the U.S. population, but 17% of those jobs. Only 1 in 10 STEM professionals is a minority woman. Additionally, women have seen no employment growth in STEM since 2000. And so, I was blown away by the disparity. I was just really taken aback by the fact that your gender, your socioeconomic status, the color of your skin can dictate where you end up in life in the U.S., the land of the free. And so that was just something that really took me, and I was like, wow, I want to be a part of this. Let me go ahead and just share a little bit about my school and my students with you guys. Like I told you, I work at Clayton County. Over 90% of my students are African American. So in the past 2 years of teaching, I had the privilege of teaching 300 beautiful teenagers. They're not all that bad. Most of them were Black. Again, over 90-something%. I had about 20 students who were Hispanic, maybe like 1 or 2 students who were Vietnamese, Asian, and then I had 2 white students in those 2 years. My school is over 95% free and reduced lunch. So that means all the students are low income, and so the state provides lunch money for them. I have a handful of students who are between homes, so they're homeless. I've taught 5 girls who were pregnant or had children by the time that they were in my freshman or senior class. And I can't help but to look at my students and think that that could have been me, like in the sense that I didn't choose to, be born in Korea, or offer my students didn't choose to be born in Riverdale, into these communities, into these failing school systems. I think it's so easy to sometimes think, oh, well, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything, but that's just really not the case. If you start that low, you need to be given the resources to make up that lost distance, and frankly, that's not given to my students. So as a teacher in a low-income community, I seek to be an advocate. I want to make sure that I level the playing field for them. And so With that being said, I am returning to the classroom next year for a third year of teaching, but I don't think being a teacher is what I want to do forever. I, again, truly think that teaching is a wonderful profession where you can touch individual lives, but I think there's a fundamental problem with the education system here in the U.S. So that's why this summer I'm actually interning with the Atlanta Board of Education, and so I'm writing policies, educational policies, to make sure that children are given the services and the opportunities that they deserve. So Teach for America's motto is one day, all children. So regardless of your situation, where you're born into, we truly believe that everyone deserves a fair opportunity at education. And I think the way for me to achieve that and what I can contribute is by making sure that there's policies in place to make sure that students get the support. So a couple of fields that you can go into besides just teaching if you do want to impact children. Like I said, educational policy. If your parents really want you to be a lawyer, like my parents really still want me to be a lawyer, you can go into educational law and you can represent public schools. So a lot of great other job opportunities that I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about later. So that was really all heavy and about to wrap up. But I just want to end it up on a high note. So I guess for those of you who went to school here in the U.S., can I see a show of hands of how many people had an Asian American teacher in their K through 12 years? So a few. All right, so I didn't. I had a half Asian soccer coach who kind of inspired me to, become like her. And I think that's something so powerful, where you step into a classroom and you see an Asian American or minority woman teacher, and you see her and you're like, wow, that looks like me, and if she can do it, I know I can do it too. And I think that Asian Americans are not really in these places where our children, our future generations need to look up to us and be like, I want to do that, I can be that too. And so low-key, it's a visible place of leadership. And whether you think of teacher as leadership or not, it really is. So if you want to be in a place where you think that you can impact lives just by stepping into a classroom, teaching might be a good career fit for you. Right, so thank you.
Our third panelist is Ms. Judy Lee. Judy Lee is a creative problem solver and an entrepreneur living in Atlanta, Georgia. Judy currently works as a senior strategist at a purpose consultancy called Bright House, a division of the Boston Consulting Group. She also runs a pop-up restaurant called Abbas, right? Yes. In Old Fourth Ward with her family. She received her BBA from Louisiana Business School at Emory University with a double concentration in organization and management and analytic consulting. During her undergraduate year, she co-founded a performing arts nonprofit organization called Collaboration Atlanta with Grace Shin, who's going to be our fourth panelist. Her latest passion project has been a purpose-driven supper club called Purpose Spoon, which was launched in November of 2014. During her free time, Judy loves to host supper clubs, take on photography projects, and travel the world with her husband. Please welcome Ms. Judy Lee.
Hi everybody, 안녕하세요. My name is Judy Lee. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Choi for an introduction and Ms. Shim and the rest of the KOWIN Executive Board for this awesome invitation to speak to you. So today I want to talk to you about a little bit of my journey. I would like to start with what I do in my current position as a senior strategist at Bright House, which is a creative consulting firm here in Atlanta. And then I want to talk to you about sort of the genesis of how I ended up there. It hasn't been really a straight road to where I am. I took a lot of turns along the way, so I'd love to tell you how I got here today. And then lastly, we'd love to speak to you a little bit about how I changed industries that were black and white, that were completely different. So we'd love to talk to you a little bit about my experience in those three ways. And again, we can open up to questions later. So right now I work as the senior strategist at a consulting firm called Bright House, and we are a division of the Boston Consulting Group, as you may know, is a larger management consulting firm all around the world. At Bright House, what we do is very special, and it's a passion of mine to do this line of work. So we work with Fortune 500 companies like Delta, Coca-Cola, P&G, Nestle, you name it. And what we do is we work with the company to help articulate their purpose. So what the heck is a purpose, right? There's not a real right or wrong answer when it comes to your purpose. But the way we see it is not your mission statement. It's not your vision statement. It's about why you exist. So we think mission statement is about what you set out to do in the world. Vision is where you want to go, and why is why. Why do you exist? What is your higher order of being existing in this world? So to be able to have this really emotionally driven and almost spiritual conversations with C-level executives in these large companies has been a really fulfilling experience for me so far. I've been there for only less than a year now, but I've seen the projects go from one, finding the company's purpose, to number two, activating their purpose. So, what's the point of having a purpose unless you act on it, right? So the two ways we help companies activate is through internally or externally. And internally, you can see it as a very transformative process for a company to change. And this is over the course of, it doesn't happen overnight, it's a course of multiple years, but internally we help shape their culture, their people, generally speaking, how they can live their purpose on a day-to-day basis. And on an external level, you can see a lot of the brands activate their purpose through external communication and branding, whether that's a commercial on Super Bowl or just on social media. So that's a little bit about what I do. And how I got here is just kind of all over the place. So bear with me as I walk through the journey with you. Like Grace, I also was born and raised in Korea until the age of 10. I immigrated to Queens, New York, and was able to spend my elementary and middle school ages there. And then I moved to Bergen County, New Jersey for school, where I majored in business early on in my high school career. And then I moved to Atlanta to attend Emory University, where I studied business as an undergrad. And at Emory, I was involved with founding this nonprofit organization called Collaboration Atlanta with Grace here, and now Grace Lee is the executive director running the organization. And that nonprofit is all about empowering the community, specifically Asian American youth, to be able to pursue other lines of careers that's not the typical lawyer, doctor, white-collar jobs. As a community, we're really creative and we're really talented, but often there aren't any resources for us to pursue those jobs as performing artists. As a comedian, cellist, singer, songwriter, whatever you name it. So we were sort of the nonprofit organizations that helped educate them and help them tell their stories and to be able to embark on their journey as artists. So through this nonprofit work, I saw that there's a lot of need in the world that's not just typically, business oriented, and that's where I really began to think about the larger impact we can have in the society as an individual. And then I took a class in my senior year called Social Entrepreneurship. And this is when really my passion was born for how I can use my business knowledge to help do good in the world. And I talked to a refugee food truck company, and basically the owner of the food truck was helping send empanadas with refugee women. And what they do is give them jobs, but at the same time tell their stories and to be able to spread awareness about their issues as a refugee community. So it's really like a really important part of my journey where I said, I've been studying business for over a decade now, but I never thought business could be used to do good. And if you think about it, it only makes sense. It's not religion, it's not nonprofit world, it's not the government world that can really move the needle in society. It's actually business because we have resources, we have scalability. So that's when I started to be really interested in what social entrepreneurship is all about. My first job out of college had nothing to do with social entrepreneurship. I worked for a different consulting firm called Triage Consulting Group, and we helped healthcare providers with their financial margins. So it's all about healthcare finance consulting. Why I chose this job was because, one, they offered this great work-life balance, which is really new to me, right? Like my parents grew up in a generation in Korea where you work hard and you have to kind of not take days off, right? You work overnight shifts, but you don't get overpaid. So for me to have this work-life balance, you work 45 hours a week and that's it. I was like, wow, this is fascinating. So I took on the job for literally that and the culture of the company. And instead, I was able to use 30 hours of my week to do something that I really loved. Because I wasn't sure what social entrepreneurship was going to lead me to in terms of career. So I started blogging, and I don't really know if I had any readers, but I wrote about social entrepreneurship and started interviewing social entrepreneurs in Atlanta. I started hosting events to talk about social entrepreneurship and started to get really involved in the community. And I'm going to come back to this later, but how this really helped shape into moving to a career that I have now. So after 3.5 years at the consulting firm, I decided to switch into the job that I really loved, and somehow landed on this opportunity with Bright House. And And I can say that I feel like I had a calling of, the reason I exist, what is my purpose in life? And I think my reason is many things along the lines of loving the people around me and helping them, but using my business knowledge and resources to be able to convince the community that business is not just to make profit. Business is all about making social impact. So I had a great chance of working with really large companies to help move the needle just a little bit, and that kind of trickles down into making a really larger impact in society. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about was, I went from this like hardcore quantitative analysis finance consulting to creative purpose consulting. And how did I make that transition? On my resume, it's not really obvious that I was fit for this job, but it was all these extracurricular things that I did along on the side, quote unquote, that I was able to build a portfolio to say, here's my passion. This is what I love to do. So you should hire me. So along those lines, I was able to not only have a blog, but I started a little supper club called Purpose Spoon, where I brought a small number of people in the community together to share a meal and talk about things that they were passionate about, and together come up with actionable items to help the community of Atlanta. So through the Purpose Spoon Supper Club, through my blog, through collaboration, all of these extra things on the side, I was able to make the case that I was the right fit for this job. And that side passion of mine has never stopped. Even though I'm at a job that I consider my dream passionate job, I'm still doing things on the side. 2 weeks ago, my family and I decided to open up a pop-up restaurant here in Old Fourth Ward, Atlanta, serving sushi, poke bowls, and burritos to people to the community. So I think my message for today is not so much about my job, but it's the fact that everybody has different passion and different calling and different purpose in life, and whether you fulfill that through your career or something else, whether through a volunteering position or community work, I think there is a lot of opportunities to explore that, and you should never really be pigeonholed into what you do on a day-to-day basis. So I would love to tell you a little bit about one case study I did with Bright House. I don't know, there's a few gentlemen in the room, but we work with a P&G brand called Always. It's a female product for a lot of women use, either through pads or tampons. And we work with the community, and we work with that brand to say, what is your purpose? And fast forward, their purpose ended up being all around empowering the women's confidence and helping empower women to do good in life. And what we realized was that, year after year, women and teenagers are having their periods earlier and earlier. They're going through puberty at age 8, 9, 7, you name it, which is far earlier than even like 5 decades ago. So what Always did through the purpose work was to activate on a really big brand campaign about, it's called like a Girl campaign. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a commercial around like what do girls do. And we would say to the teenage girls, how do girls run? And they would go, how do girls throw? So it's all these stereotypes about what women are supposed to be doing. So they came up with this huge movement around what women should be. We are leaders. We are policymakers. We're teachers. We are this empowering group of women that can make a really big impact in the world. So funnily enough, they actually showcased this campaign through Super Bowl, where the majority of the demographic was men. Because they knew that to move the needle in society, you can't only talk to the people that are related to you, but it's really the larger society at hand. So that was just one example. It actually was the rated #1 campaign of the year for many, many years. So I hope you can check it out another time. Thank you.
All right, finally, our final panelist is Grace Shim. Grace Shim is currently a digital media director at Response Mind Interactive, an advertising agency located in Buckhead. She's worked in the industry for 8 years and has extensive knowledge in digital marketing and sales strategy. Ms. Shim also plays cello professionally and has recorded and toured with artists such as Janelle Monae, Kanye West, Bruno Mars, and Katy Perry. I don't know all the parents here know who they are, but I'm sure youngsters will know them. She attended Juilliard College for musical training and received a BBA and BA double degree from Emory University. Grace was also a co-founding director of the nonprofit performing arts organization Collaboration Atlanta. Please welcome Ms. Grace Shin.
Thank you. And thank you, KOWIN, for inviting me as well. It's an absolute pleasure to come speak with you guys today. Essentially, just wanted to give you some background behind, I guess, my path as well, how I had stumbled upon the job that I have today. I think for the most part, I was along the same lines as Grace, where in college, I didn't really know at all what I wanted to major in, what I wanted to study. There were certain things that were, in terms of advice, that was given to me from my older sister that I took to heart, primarily just making sure that I started out college really strong, because it's really hard to improve your GPA over the years, and that leaving time set aside to study abroad, making sure that, if anything, just looking into that type of experience and making sure I try to bake that into my time at Emory. And so I had done that, and in doing that, I had discovered that I really had a passion for music still. Music was something that, fortunately, I had grown up with my entire life. Played cello since I was like 6 years old. My mom also actually is involved in music as well. She plays the piano. So it's always been something that has been passionate within my own personal interests. But graduating high school, I personally did not want to go into a conservatory or a music school. I didn't really feel confident in that lifestyle of going down the music path or the artistry path. And that might speak to the messaging that we're sort of given as kids as well, just making sure that we think about making money and that we're successful from that capacity as opposed to following passions. But fortunately, I was very supported from my parents, and they've always been there in terms of understanding that I didn't want to become a doctor or a businesswoman or a lawyer by any means. I wanted to be more on the creative side. So after graduating college, I just knew, after graduating high school, I knew that I wanted to go to a college that had a good music program, but still had a good educational program too. So that's how I stumbled upon Emory. And Emory, I attended the undergrad business school at Gosueta, a marketing major, and did a music double major as well. So I was able to continue studying cello throughout my years there. And I was very fortunate to continue that passion, because that's really what helped me get connected to all of my professional opportunities today. A singer, she's a Grammy-nominated singer, her name is Janelle Monae. She had reached out to Emory University because she needed a cellist for her album, for her recording. And so I was connected to that opportunity, and since then, she's really just brought me along for all of her gigs, her show opportunities, her tours a couple years ago, where I was able to play cello and perform in front of the thousands of people in the biggest venues across the world. And it was really just like a bucket list type of opportunity in my head where at that point I was just like, dreams really are a reality, I guess. It sounds a little bit cheesy. And you're always told as a kid, like, go for your dreams and really believe that you could do what you want to do. But it was at that point that I recognized, like, it really is a reality. It's just a matter of who you know, how hard you're willing to work for to try to get yourself there. And putting yourself out there really is like one of the main things. I would say as Asian Americans, typically we're viewed as more mild-mannered and meek and not as loud-voiced. And I think that through our generation, that's certainly changing for sure. Our parents definitely, I don't think, had the same opportunities that we had growing up. So I take it upon myself to make sure that I go down a path that I feel like is very lucrative and that my parents could be very proud of, and that we as a community could be proud of that fact that we're representing who we are in the community. And so essentially, after graduating Emory, I just applied for this digital marketing internship in Buckhead. And again, not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do or what that even meant, but I fell in love with the industry. It's pretty much any type of digital advertising that you see online. It's sort of that world, right? So I have different clients, I manage a team, and we figure out what's the most strategic and creative way to drive new customers for our clients. And we try to figure that out all via digital means, whether that's Facebook advertising or advertising that you might not even notice online, what we call native advertising. In my opinion though, it's a lot of fun because being born and raised in New York, I'm super high paced and always want to know what's new and what's cutting edge. So it's a perfect industry from that perspective where you have to know what the tech titans are doing, you have to be up to date on what Google is updating and what Yahoo and Bing are doing, as you are looked upon as the marketing expert to your clients. So another positive thing about digital marketing is the fact that it's a very relaxed industry. It's definitely not the type of job where you have to go dressed up to work every day. You go to dress like this. I bring my dog into work every day, into the agency. It's a very laid-back, younger industry for sure, where creativity thrives. But it's a very lucrative industry as well. If you're willing to start from the bottom and train yourself up and get promoted throughout that path, it's definitely something that I would recommend for those who are interested in technology and marketing. And also on the flip side of that, it allows a lot of flexibility where I was able to do cello in addition to this marketing job. So sort of finding that balance of, okay, I feel safe and steady with this job where I'm able to have a steady paycheck that I'm proud of, but also still tapping into my creative side and making sure that I'm still playing cello and keeping those connections in the music industry to continue exploring that. Because I have a feeling as I get older, I'm not going to continue working at the same agency forever. I might want to create my own agency because this is sort of a business where, and a generation where it allows that. We have an internet, we could just create our own website and then you have your own business, So just making sure that I have the right people and plan in place before I make those type of moves. But I think more so just, it's very encouraging that we have these type of opportunities at the end of the day. So for me personally, just continuing to build upon my experience in marketing, digital marketing and media, and cello in the music world, and just trying to figure out, very similar to Judy, the social enterprise sort of concept is something that is very interesting. I think figuring out a business that has a social meaning for the betterment of social good, I think is something that I would love to strive to figure out as well. But yeah, in the meantime, just staying passionate within what I personally feel like I could positively contribute to the community, and just making sure that I keep a clear path within the digital marketing world, because there's just a lot out there to learn. So that's pretty much everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. Let's give a round of applause to all our 4 panelists today. As you can see, KOWIN brought this seminar today, and because we thought that in addition to doctors and lawyers, professors and engineers, as Korean American, we can do more than those jobs, right? And these 4 panelists represent these diverse career paths that we can go into, and we want to see more social workers because we need more social workers who can take care of our own community in the US. And also we need more teachers, as Grace mentioned. We don't really see Asian face as teachers and professors, really not much. And also, as Grace mentioned, that we need more performance, right? Singers, actors, and comedians on TV who look like us. And also, Judy mentioned, we want people who are involved in creating purpose-driven messages for our businesses. So I think all these 4 panelists represent real diverse paths that we can all think about and consider. And I'd like to now open up to question and answer to any of these panelists. So feel free to raise your hand, and I'll go to you with the microphone.
Is there any qualification or such as degrees or certificate licenses? If you introduce some just basic part, then it will be very helpful.
I think I can just speak without the microphone. Yeah. Okay, basically, you don't have to major. There are not many colleges that actually have social work as their undergraduate program. So basically, most of the people just major what they like to do in undergraduate. And to become a social worker, to be a licensed social worker in any states these days, you have to go master's degree. So you will have a master's degree in social work. Then you are qualified to take an exam for licensed LMSW, licensed master social worker. And don't think I've had time to mention it. To become a clinical social worker, you have to take another step to become clinical social worker, which means that you will actually sit down with the patients in the hospital to diagnose, to prescribe the medication. You need to go further for LCSW. So there are like different levels of licensure that you will get from state. It's for each state, and to get these licenses, you have to have a master's degree in social work.
And UGA, by the way, where I work, we actually have BSW, MSW, PhD in social work. So if you're interested in social work, please talk to us, talk to me, and Ms. Rand.
For speaking on behalf of consulting in general, if you're interested in management consulting or for creative consultancy like Bright House, there isn't a real requirement. Most people study business undergrad, or even if you didn't, if you have a little bit of quantitative kind of aspect covered in your academics, whether it's through economics or marketing statistics, whatever it is, I think it's good to balance the quantitative academia with some of the qualitative as well, whether that's sociology, anthropology, or psychology. So I think as long as those two things are represented and you have good internships to show that you have a very strategic way of thinking, consultancies will consider multiple undergrad majors. But yes, you would need to have an undergrad degree.
Question to Julie and Gracie. Okay, just assume that if you make an interview for the candidates to work with you, what's your first characteristic you count for your hiring?
Yeah, when I'm interviewing someone new, I actually don't even look at the resume at that point, unless I feel like there's nothing to talk about with that person. But primarily for me, whenever somebody joins my team, I want to make sure that the personality fit is correct. More so just what they have down in their history, just making sure that from a person-to-person connection, that we are able to have really good conversation. And that just asking them, I honestly asked them to describe how they would spend a typical weekend or something on their spare time, to see how they interact when they're not nervous. You know, just trying to have normal conversation with them and seeing how we relate. And then, because at the end of my test, I also want to make sure that, or at the end of the interview, I want to make sure that they are driven and very smart, of course, to help to handle the work themselves. So for my specific profession, we give like an Excel and sort of like a written small evaluation to help see both sides of the coin there for each candidate.
Yeah, I think by the time we are interviewing someone, like we've already done due diligence to see if they're qualified. So my favorite question to ask is not really based on what the company wants, but personally as a manager, I ask a specific question. I say, what is the most scrappiest thing you've done? Like, when were you most resourceful? So I've heard people say things along the lines of, you know, I really wanted to travel to Europe, but I had to save money to go there. To somebody who said, I couldn't afford college, so I had to work full-time during going to college. So that kind of puts into perspective for me how hardworking they are and also how resourceful they are. So that's like one of the biggest characteristics I personally look for.
To be a teacher, you can go the traditional route, so you can go to school undergrad and go major in education or human development or any of that. I went the non-traditional route, like I said. Teach for America is an alternative certification program, and there are a few of those around. They are kind of controversial in the teaching world because, you know, some people went to school for 4 years to become a teacher, some people spent 5 weeks training in the summer to become a teacher, but there are different ways to get around it. But again, the most traditional route is to go to school. For each state has different requirements. For Georgia, you have to take a test in your concentration, your content area.
What kind of attire is suitable for?
We'll go this way.
When I interviewed the people, I really don't mind walking. I mean, let me put it this way. Okay, I saw this lady walking with a sweater and really like deep cut. So it's basic you don't have to really dress up in suits, but sometimes you have to have certain standard of dressing. So as a social worker, I mean, I don't expect somebody walking like full like navy jacket and suit, but at least to be presentable. Yes, but at the same time, I look at them. This is like so common thing, but I look at their hair and nails. It kind of tells me how, whether they know how to present themselves. Because as a social worker, you are out there to meeting clients. You are there representing the agency that you work for. So I would probably look more hair and nails than I do.
Just for, I guess, like from a college standpoint to begin, like even if you're interviewing for like organizations or clubs, personally, when I've conducted interviews with college students, I look at their attire too, because you think it's like college, it doesn't matter, you wear t-shirt, jeans. I think that you should, be presentable, even if it's those smaller interviews, and that will help you to build your confidence as well, like dressable, testable, people say that kind of stuff. From my experience with my corporate jobs and talking with the career centers at my college, for every interview I went to, I did wear a dress suit, because I think better to dress up more than dress up less is in my opinion, but I like to throw the question this way. Probably know better than I do.
For my internships and my first job, which was more traditional corporate America, I did wear a full dress suit when I was interviewing, and I expected the same for the people who were coming in for interviews. But I think our millennial generation, we have a lot of startups, creative agencies, we have advertising agencies and consultancies that really value your personal take on how you want to be presented. So I would do it in the sense that if you are looking for a job in those industries who are more flexible and laid back, I would mimic what they're wearing, but maybe a little bit better. So an example is, my husband works in a tech startup, and he's just similar age, maybe around 30, but he's interviewing people just out of college. Everybody at the startup wears jeans, shorts, you name it, t-shirts. He has a book bag on with flip-flops sometimes. The founders dress that way. So for you to come in with a stuffy jacket and suit, it's just not going to feel comfortable being for the interviewer as well. So just having that sense of what the company's culture is really important to be able to mimic that. My current company right now is very casual, but everyone looks nice. Like, they have a blouse and jeans and sometimes wear their sneakers, but everyone looks clean. So that's sort of the standard for my company now.
I would say just to be safe for the most part, I do always recommend dressing up business casual at the minimum, and then just business professional. Even my agency is super laid back, but if I have someone come in for an interview and they're not dressed like they're here for an interview, it is sort of a notch. It just is a personal thing too, but I feel like it's always safer to play, or it's better to play safe from that perspective. Getting a negative point off of how you're dressed is like, you don't want to start off that way. And so, I would recommend just being safer from that perspective.
So I guess I have two questions. I don't recall the name of the non-profit organization you found.
Collaboration.
Yeah, and then you are currently running, and then I was kind of wondering how you guys kind of became, working for that purpose together. Were you like a friend to one another? And that was my first question. And second question is, I'm kind of curious about what kind of personality is kind of helpful to choose kind of your career. So, because some people maybe kind of worry if they are kind of too much introvert, and then they might kind of concerned with choosing a career. They have to really kind of speak up in front of people. So I was wondering.
Two questions. First one is about collaboration at Plana.
Oh, sure. So Judy and myself, we attended Emory together. When I was a senior, Judy was a freshman. And I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard of KASCON, but it's the Korean American Students Conference. It's basically held at a different university every couple of years. I'm not sure if they still do it every single year, but when we were at Emory together, we decided, hey, let's try to bring CASCON to Emory. We bid it through an application and we won. And through that, we needed sort of Saturday night entertainment. And actually, I'll let Judy sort of take over. She was the one who was primarily in charge of that entertainment, which is how we started and brought in collaboration, or the concept of collaboration.
Yeah, so Grace and the executive board for the students conference had bidded and got the application up and running already the year before I joined Emory. When I was a freshman joining the college, I just heard about this opportunity, applied to become a programming director, and Grace was the associate director of the conference. And so for the Saturday, entertainment, we decided to bring collaboration. It's already a nonprofit that was founded in LA, and they have these huge talent shows once a year. It's kind of like American Idol, but with Asian American artists who are kind of up and coming. So we decided to do that as a portion, as an entertainment area. But because it was so successful, we decided we should, although the conference is going to move on to other universities, we should really hold this nonprofit organization called Collaboration and open up a chapter in Atlanta. So actually, Grace Lee was involved in the Boston chapter of Collaboration prior to moving back to Atlanta to become the executive director after both of us had stepped down. So there is this large network of collaboration chapters all over North America. I believe the last time I counted was around 14, 15 cities, LA being the headquarters. So each city is kind of doing their own local efforts, and then there's also a global movement that the global executive team is in charge of. So that's kind of how we started. Does that answer your question? Yeah. And then for the second question was around what kind of personalities would be a good fit for each one of our industries. To begin with ours, to begin with mine, which is sort of the more creative consultancy. Before, it was all around data analysis, quantitative ability, but for this job that I moved on to, it's all about how much of a thinker you are. So purpose is something that's not an easy answer to create. So you have to really pull from different disciplines. So you have to have a personality that enjoys being challenged by different disciplines in general and love to think really outside the box and strategically around how this purpose can come to life. So I'm not sure about personality generally. It's usually people we're all different, but there is some type of creative expression, whether you're an artist, whether you are a creative thinker, whether you like to take photographs, whatever the expression you are. I think the personality really that thrives in my environment is very being open to new avenues of creativity.
I would say for the digital advertising sort of field industry, or the tech industry in general, Judy just sort of mentioned this, there's so many different personalities that you work and deal with in that industry. So I think it's just a matter of pinpointing what exactly are you passionate about. What would make you happy working on this client or doing day-to-day? Would you be happy being more of a big picture thinker? Would you be more happy being in a spreadsheet and doing formulas and doing analysis or data? Everybody has such different strong suits. So it's really just a matter, I just always recommend just get out there and experience as much as you can. Just try to put yourself out there and volunteer for this and that, because you're really never gonna know until you just try it out. Any personality type will fit. It's just really how are you gonna feel happy doing what you're doing at that job.
For a teacher in a low-income community, I think that being flexible is something that's really important. I run into so many unexpected things on a daily basis, and I think that if I was very stuck in my ways, or if I was very prideful and didn't want to change, I think that would be an injustice to my students, because I would be bringing down their time where they could be learning. I also think that if you're teaching in a low-income community, you definitely need to be optimistic. You need to have hope that there is going to be something that we're working towards, and that you and your students are working together towards that goal.
I think I briefly mentioned it at my presentation. First of all, you have to have some interest in people. You don't necessarily have to like people to become a social worker, but basically you have to be interested in people. Because what you study in social work program is like human development and human behavior. You have to have this sense of interest in people, try to read the people that you need help. Because like I said, you need to do need assessment at very first to see, okay, this person coming for this kind of help, but is it really what they needed? So first of all, you have to really study human development and behaviors, but at the same time, you have to have a genuine interest in that person, in any kind of person that you wanted to help. Do you have to be nice to people sometimes? Yes, but not always. So basically, I would say you will have to have basic interest in people. Try to see in what perspective that you can service them and provide what they need.